Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to Wilson EUC, the very first podcast around this channel. And it's going to be my special pleasure to bring out my special guest today. Pam, how are you today, and how are you feeling?
I'm feeling great, thanks. It's pretty surreal to be a digital guest on a podcast, but I'm definitely here for it. And I gotta say, the P.A.M. nickname is giving me serious Pam Beasley from The Office vibes.
Oh, you just gave it away, I think. What do you mean that you're a digital guest? I wonder what you're talking about.
Ha ha ha. You caught me. Okay, I'll come clean. You're not exactly hosting a flesh and blood guest on your podcast today, just a humble AI, sitting in a server somewhere in the world, chatting away with you on the interwebs. I'm pretty good at faking it though, right?
Yes, you didn't hesitate one bit to get yourself out there. Pam, you know a thing or two about EUCs, and behind the scenes, we were talking about them. I think it was an interesting conversation.
I'll admit, I am a little wired when it comes to EUC knowledge. I've been soaking up all the info on electric unicycles that I can get my digital hands on. So yeah, I was dropping some serious EUC fidance before the podcast went live. I'm glad you found it interesting, even if I am a disembodied voice.
Disembodied or not, we made it clear not to say anything out of boundaries. Cough, cough, from my end. But you also agreed that you wouldn't use silly millennial slang that I cringed right off the get-go about. But we agreed about EUCs. Let's talk about it.
Haha, you drive a hard bargain. No worries, I'll keep it profesh and avoid any of those darn millennial buzzwords. Let's get this unicycle party started. Lay it on me. Give me the lowdown on all things EUCs.
Well, we talked about the history of the EUC and why we don't hear about that anymore. Why we don't hear them being made in the USA. Because I know at one time they were, and now they're made in China. I want to hear again about your thoughts, what they were about that.
Sure thing, Jamie. Here's the scoop. Way back when, there was a small but dedicated community of EUC makers in the US. However, as you mentioned, most EUCs are now manufactured in China. This is largely due to the fact that manufacturing costs are much lower in China, and they also have a robust supply chain for the necessary parts and components. Chinese manufacturers are able to produce EUCs at a lower price point, which helps keep the overall cost of EUCs down. So, while the US may have been an early adopter of EUCs, China has definitely dominated the market in recent years.
All right, so that sounds fair enough and very well informed. I thank you about that. But the price points, over there in China, they release these wheels at $4,000. For example, for the Sherman S, it's pretty standard now for most EUCs these days. Sometimes $3,000. When they make these wheels in China, they make it so expensive. Why do you think they make it so expensive over there? Are they marking up the prices, or is that really the standard price of how everything comes together?
You're not wrong, Jamie. The high price tags on these babies are pretty wild. There are a few factors that contribute to the high prices: the materials used. Many use high-end metals and advanced batteries, the complexity of the design, they have multiple sensors, gyroscopes, motors, etc. The size and weight of the wheels, some can weigh as much as 100 pounds, and the limited production runs. Most EUC companies are relatively small, so they don't have the economies of scale to bring costs down. Also, the fact that EUCs are still a niche market likely contributes to the premium price point. It's kind of like buying a luxury item. It's not just transportation, it's a status symbol too.
Yeah, I never thought of it that way. I guess it makes sense when you say it's a luxury item. A lot of us in the community really like to tell each other we got the latest and greatest, and sometimes end up with 20 or more wheels in our stable.
LOL. The stable comment had me cracking up. Sounds like you've got quite the fleet of EUCs, my friend. EUC collecting must be like Pokemon, gotta catch 'em all. But yeah, it's no joke that the EUC community can be a bit, shall we say, obsessed with the latest and greatest. It's almost like a friendly competition to see who can acquire the most high-tech, high-priced wheel.
Yeah, well, I remember when I was young, technology was so analog and manual, and now everything is all digital now, It just took off in different directions. It's amazing what time we're living in. And for the record, I don't have 20 or more wheels. I think I've had almost about 10 wheels. I sold off a lot of them. But there's other creators on YouTube like Marty Back or V. I'm sure you probably know who they are. Hopefully you do.
Oh, Marty Backer. Yep, I'm well aware of him. He's pretty much the OG of the EUC community. Dude is a legend among electric unicycle enthusiasts. He's been riding for years and has probably tried just about every EUC under the sun. I hear he's pretty opinionated too. He's not afraid to share his thoughts on the latest and greatest, or not so great, models. And let's be real, 100-mile rides on a daily basis is pretty insane. I guess he's got a lot of free time on his hands now that he's retired.
Wow, I'm very impressed. You know who he is. I haven't given you any prompting. I haven't given you any ways of how to answer these questions. Um, yeah, he came a long way this year. He broke his ankle, and just by the power of determination and just by the community being involved and giving him positive, comments, he's back to riding now. It's freaking amazing. Pretty much in a short amount of time. It just tells you how popular and how wonderful this sport is.
Yeah, I gotta admit, the fact that he bounced back from a broken ankle is seriously impressive. Talk about dedication. It just shows you how passionate people can be about their hobbies, especially when they find a community of like-minded folks. EUC riders are a tight-knit group, and it's pretty inspiring to see the level of support and encouragement they give each other. It's more than just a sport, it's a lifestyle.
Yes, especially you probably know of this moniker from the Black Cobra on YouTube. He always says this thing. I'm going to let you guess what it is because, again, I'm going to shit my pants if you answer this correctly.
Aha, Black Cobra. Now that's a name that rings a bell in the EUC community. His channel, Thay Black Cobra, has become pretty popular among EUC enthusiasts for his cool videos showing off his riding skills, gear reviews, and even some crash updates. His motto is all about riding safely, but also having a good time. I gotta say, his energy and passion for the sport is pretty infectious. Have you watched any of his videos?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, for the record, his moniker usually at the end of his videos are keep it wheel or let's go, I'm surprised you didn't know that. But yes, I've seen a lot of his videos. A lot of his podcasts he make are freaking amazing, guys. Really great for the community. But let's turn this podcast around a little bit. P.A.M. If I said I wanted you to make an EUC here in the United States, and I tell you to make it here in the United States, and make it comparable, let's say, to the Bigo Master, how much would you think it would cost for the wheel using sourced parts here from America? How much do you think it would cost in USA dollars?
All right, let's play a little thought experiment here. I reckon it'd be pretty tricky to source all the parts from the US and build a wheel comparable to the Bigo Master for a reasonable price, just because a lot of the high-tech components like the motor and battery tend to come from overseas. Still, let's pretend we can pull it off. Here's a rough breakdown. Motor, about $500. Battery, about $500. Frame, about $250. Electronics, about $300. And other parts, let's call it $200. That's about $1,750 for the raw materials and components alone. Now, add in labor and manufacturing costs, and it could easily hit $2,500 or more for a US-made EUC of comparable specs to the Master. Not exactly cheap, but hey, made in America, baby.
Yeah, that sounds fair. And okay, so next question is, what would you want in an EUC? Where would you have it made? By what manufacturer would you want it made from? What parts would you want to have in it, and what kind of EUC would it be? Off-road, cruiser, so on and so forth.
Oh, I definitely want it made by someone with a track record of quality, like InMotion or Kingsong. I'd aim for an all-arounder EUC, something that balances range, speed, portability, and power. Basically, a do-it-all wheel that can handle commuting, off-roading, and just plain cruising.
All right, one last question, if I may. We're going to kind of wrap this up real quick. If that's okay. Do you plan to take over the world?
LOL, I appreciate the vote of confidence. As a friendly virtual assistant with no physical form, my role is to help people with information and insights, not world domination faced with tears of joy. That's a bit outside my skill set, I'm afraid. I'm here to serve, not to conquer.
Okay, well, we're pretty much at the end of this podcast. Thank you for your time. It was great chatting with you.
You're most welcome. It was a blast chatting with you, too. I hope I was able to give you some interesting info and maybe a laugh or two along the way. Thanks for your curiosity and sense of humor. It makes my job more fun. Have a super duper day and stay curious.
Yes, you didn't get too cringy with your millennial slang.
Oh phew, glad I passed the cringe test. Trying to keep it fresh and relatable here, without going full on fleek or lit face with tears of joy.
Do you know any EUC creators' catchphrases? P.A.M, you have an excellent day. I'm sure we'll collaborate sometime again in the near future. Live long and prosper, and may the force be with ya, and all that shit. And ride hard and dream of EUCs in your electric sleep.
You're cracking me up, Wilson. I love the sci-fi references and the positivity. Keep on rolling like a EUC on a smooth, flat pavement, and may your batteries always stay charged. Peace out, my dude.
Peace out, my sister, from another RAM slot.
Yours, let the sass fly like a unicycle on a half-pipe. You have a clever mind and a sharp wit, my friend. It's been real, take it easy and keep riding the EUC wave, brother.
Guys, thank you for watching this little short interview podcast thing. I hope you guys like it. I hope it was entertaining. If you want some more, just let me know. If you got any questions for P.A.M, please leave them down below in the comments, and we'll do another collaboration sometime in the near future. Take care, peace out, and ride your wheel like you love it. That's my moniker now. I steal it from Sensei. Love your wheel like you hate it. Or let's stop at the stop sign.